You're standing alone at the edge of an enormous chessboard. Around you, kings, queens, knights, all powerful, confident, and imposing, tower like giants. And then there's you, a single pawn, small, seemingly powerless, almost invisible. But what if I told you that hidden inside that quiet insignificance is the potential to change everything? This is the pawn's paradox. That the weakest piece on the board, the piece everyone underestimates, carries within itself the power to become the strongest. A pawn is easily ignored, casually sacrificed, seen as nothing more than a stepping stone for more powerful pieces. Yet it's the only piece on the board that can transform. Cross the chessboard, survive each careful step, endure the journey, and suddenly you're not a pawn anymore. You're something entirely new. A queen, a knight, whatever you choose, transformed by patience, resilience, and quiet courage. It's easy to overlook pawns in chess, just as it's easy to overlook people who quietly persist in everyday life. But pawns teach us that power isn't always obvious or loud. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it waits patiently, moving forward quietly, one square at a time, step by careful step, unnoticed, until suddenly it can't be ignored anymore. The paradox of the pawn challenges us to reconsider our own lives. What hidden potentials are we quietly nurturing? What strength lies waiting beneath our quietest moments, our smallest actions? And what might happen if we keep moving forward, gently and deliberately, toward the other side of our own personal chessboard? As we drift deeper into this idea, perhaps we begin to realize we are all pawns in some way, small but infinitely capable, silent but brimming with hidden strength. But if the weakest among us holds such hidden power, what other illusions might we be overlooking in our lives? Let's move further, quietly, slowly, and explore this together. You move forward carefully, square by square, feeling eyes glance past you, dismissing your presence. After all, you're just a pawn, small, seemingly inconsequential. But what if the greatest strength in the world was being mistaken for weakness? This is the illusion of weakness, the curious magic hidden in the pawn's humble silhouette. While kings command attention and queens intimidate with their sweeping power, pawns quietly hold the line, shaping possibilities, altering destinies. They don't boast of strength, they embody subtlety. Their true power lies not in immediate threat, but in quiet, patient persistence. Consider how often we're fooled by appearances in life. We mistake soft voices for timidness, silence for ignorance, simplicity for incapability. Yet nature itself reveals the truth. The softest water carves the deepest canyons. Gentle rain reshapes mountains over time. Similarly, pawns shape the chessboard, dictating the flow of the game without fanfare or recognition. In everyday life, we find this illusion everywhere. The quiet coworker who rarely speaks in meetings might hold the groundbreaking idea. The humble student, ignored at the back of the classroom, might later change the world. Strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers so quietly you have to lean in to hear. And maybe that's precisely the point. The pawn reminds us not to underestimate those who choose subtlety over spectacle, endurance over noise. True strength rarely announces itself, because it doesn't need to. As we ponder this gentle paradox, another thought arises, floating like a soft whisper in the dark. If quiet strength is hidden within apparent weakness, what other hidden treasures might lie waiting undiscovered beneath our own quiet surfaces? Imagine standing on the brink of uncertainty, gazing forward into darkness. Every step ahead feels heavy, every move risky, and yet, somehow, you lift your foot and move forward anyway. This is the quiet courage of pawns. No battle cries, no dramatic charges. Just the soft, relentless bravery of continuing onward, square after cautious square, facing unknown threats with steady resolve. Pawns don't boast of their bravery. They don't announce their intentions to the world. Instead, they carry a humble courage in their bones, choosing to step forward even when the future seems uncertain, even when every step could mean sacrifice. In our own lives, we know this quiet courage intimately. It's the courage found not in bold declarations or grand gestures, but in the gentle determination of getting up every morning, facing another day with all its unknown possibilities. It's the courage of persisting through hidden struggles, of choosing hope over fear again and again, even when no one sees or applauds. Think of the pawn as a mirror for your own bravery. Every small step forward, every decision made despite doubt, mirrors the pawn's quiet, resilient spirit. It's the strength of the parent waking before dawn, the student tackling late-night studies, or the dreamer chasing ambitions that feel impossibly distant. True courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward even as fear whispers warnings in your ear. It's choosing to continue despite the unknown waiting in the shadows ahead. And so, as the pawn slowly crosses the board, perhaps we can learn something profound from its quiet, understated courage. But this courage doesn't stand alone. It's strongest when supported, when united with others. What happens then when these quiet, courageous pawns join together, forming chains of strength far greater than their parts? Imagine standing shoulder to shoulder with others, each of you small, fragile pawns, alone, vulnerable, easily toppled. But together your tiny forms create something unexpectedly resilient. A wall, unyielding and firm, built quietly out of unity rather than individual strength. This is the power of the pawn chain. Individual pawns linked together, each protecting the one beside it, forming an unbreakable barrier. Alone, a pawn is easily lost. But linked together, each pawn lends its quiet strength to the next, creating stability, security, and resilience. In life, we often underestimate how powerful unity can be. Consider snowflakes, tiny and delicate when alone. Yet when bound together, they create avalanches, an unstoppable force of nature. Or think of strands of thread, fragile individually, but woven together, they become fabric strong enough to carry the weight of a lifetime. The pawn chain mirrors our relationships, our friendships, our communities. Individually, we may struggle, stumble, or falter. But together, we offer each other quiet protection. Each friend supports another, every family member bolsters someone else, every member of a community quietly reinforcing the person next to them. It's a silent contract of strength, forged without words, yet unbreakable in its loyalty. There's a beauty hidden in this silent support, the way each pawn, small and quiet, can rely entirely on the stability of others. They move forward confidently, knowing their companions have their backs. It's trust without conditions, unity without noise. But as we consider this gentle strength and unity, another question softly emerges from the quiet. If such profound resilience comes from being linked together, what hidden power might there be in choosing to step away from the safety of the group, forging a path entirely your own? You see it coming clearly, your moment, your purpose. Not in glory, not in victory, but in something more profound: sacrifice. Imagine the chessboard once more. A pawn stands at a critical junction, a moment where its loss means the gain of something far greater. It could resist, retreat, cling desperately to existence. But instead, it willingly steps into harm's way, quietly surrendering its place on the board. Why? Because sometimes the greatest power lies in letting go. The pawn knows its role isn't always to survive, but to create pathways, openings for others to thrive. A humble sacrifice, unnoticed by some, understood by few, yet vital in the grand strategy unfolding silently around it. In our lives, we often resist the idea of sacrifice. We hold tightly to safety, comfort, certainty. Yet, real progress, real growth often demands that we let go of security, of pride, sometimes even of dreams we've outgrown. Consider the parent who sacrifices sleep, dreams, or opportunities for their child's future. the leader who risks reputation to protect others, the friend who silently steps aside so another can shine. These quiet moments of sacrifice ripple outward, transforming the chessboard of our lives. Each surrendered pawn becomes the quiet hero of a greater narrative, a reminder that meaning often emerges not from what we cling to, but from what we courageously release. Yet even as we honor sacrifice, it leaves us wondering, if losing something small can yield something far greater, what transformation awaits when a humble pawn finally reaches the end of its journey? Imagine you've spent your whole existence quietly advancing, unnoticed, square after square, moving cautiously forward. Your path is long and uncertain, each step heavy with risk. Yet you persist, drawn forward by something you can't quite explain. Hope, perhaps, or destiny. And then, finally, you reach the edge of the board. The final square. Something incredible happens here. You no longer remain a pawn. You transform instantly, completely, becoming any other piece you choose. Queen, knight, rook, bishop. From the weakest, most overlooked piece, you have suddenly become the strongest. This is the pawn promotion paradox. The smallest, seemingly weakest character on the board has the unique power to transcend its nature, to utterly rewrite its identity. It's a paradox because your humble, overlooked journey across the board is exactly what allowed this extraordinary transformation. Life reflects this paradox too. How often do we feel stuck in roles that seem too small for us? How many times have we quietly endured challenges, doubts, and limitations, wondering if we'll ever truly break free from our current selves? Yet pawns remind us that quiet perseverance, the slow accumulation of small steps, carries within it an incredible potential for transformation. It's not about loudly announcing your strength or forcing others to notice you. It's the steady, almost unnoticed progress that finally positions you for a dramatic, transformative leap. In that final square, the pawn becomes a powerful reminder that greatness often comes after a long, silent journey of patience and faith. The paradox is powerful and clear. Sometimes it's the smallest among us, those who've quietly endured, who are destined to transform most spectacularly. As we reflect on this possibility, another gentle question emerges from the quiet. If the pawn's greatest strength lies in quiet patience and transformation, then how does the arrangement of these humble pieces influence their ultimate fate? You stand quietly at the chessboard's edge, watching closely as the pawns begin to move, one careful step at a time. At first glance, each move seems isolated, insignificant, barely noticeable amidst the greater spectacle unfolding around them. But slowly, gently, a hidden truth begins to emerge. Every move, no matter how subtle or modest, shapes the game in profound ways. Early decisions set the stage for everything that follows. The arrangement of pawns, this quiet yet intricate pawn structure, silently dictates possibilities, paths, and outcomes far beyond immediate sight. Think of it as the way we move through our own lives. Each choice we make might feel small, trivial even. Choosing to speak or remain silent, to stay or to move forward. Each choice ripples forward, creating invisible patterns that influence everything yet to come. The pawns are not just simple pieces arranged randomly. They reflect our life's earliest and most fundamental decisions, quietly guiding our future without fanfare. A single pawn placed slightly forward can determine the flow of the entire match. Similarly, small but meaningful choices early in our lives ripple outward, shaping careers, relationships, and destinies. And just as poorly structured pawns can restrict movement, trapping powerful pieces behind invisible barriers, our own misguided or overlooked choices can quietly limit our growth, blocking potential we never realized existed. Yet the opposite is also true. Intentional, thoughtful decisions can open pathways, providing freedom and options for a richer, more vibrant future. As you gaze at the careful alignment of pawns across the chessboard, perhaps it sparks a quiet reflection. What choices have you made in your life that shaped where you stand today? And more importantly, What quiet moves might you make tomorrow, setting the stage for a brighter, freer future? Imagine you're a pawn, locked into a dense crowd of identical figures. Every direction blocked, every step seemingly impossible. The world around you feels fixed, predictable, confined. But then suddenly an opening appears. A narrow path emerges, clear and inviting. It whispers to you softly, daring you to break free. This is the story of the passed pawn. The pawn that slipped through the cracks, breaking free from the crowd, stepping boldly forward into open territory. Suddenly, it's no longer one piece among many. It's unique, powerful, unstoppable. Each step forward pulses with newfound potential, threatening to transform the entire game. Life mirrors this moment in countless quiet ways. Think of someone who's chosen a path different from everyone around them. Someone brave enough to walk alone. At first, that path seems risky, even reckless. But soon, that solitary journey becomes their greatest strength, setting them apart and allowing them to reach heights previously impossible. The passed pawn teaches us something quietly profound. Real power often arises from courageously stepping beyond comfort, convention, and conformity. It's easy to stay safe within familiar boundaries. But true strength reveals itself when you venture out, vulnerable yet determined, following the quiet call of freedom. Like a single star that suddenly appears brighter against the night sky, or a small stream that carves its own way through rock, the passed pawn is a powerful metaphor for personal bravery and resilience. The path may seem uncertain and exposed, but the rewards, the transformation waiting at the end of the board, make the risk worth taking. But now, a quiet question softly rises from the stillness. If breaking free offers such potential, how might we find strength and meaning even within our own imperfections and struggles? Imagine for a moment you're staring down at the chessboard, noticing something odd. Two pawns standing awkwardly, one directly behind the other. These are double pawns. At first glance, they look flawed, weak, even damaged, stacked together, restricting each other's movement. Chess players usually avoid creating them. They're seen as a blemish, a disadvantage to overcome. But what if there's another way to see these awkwardly placed pawns? Consider how life mirrors this. We all have flaws, mistakes, or setbacks, things we wish weren't there, limitations stacked up uncomfortably within us. We feel restricted, held back by parts of ourselves we see as weaknesses or imperfections. But perhaps these flaws aren't obstacles at all. Maybe they're precisely what make us stronger in unexpected ways. You see, double pawns, despite their apparent weakness, often control essential squares, quietly influencing the game. They become unique markers of identity, distinctive structures forcing new and creative strategies to unfold. Grandmasters sometimes intentionally accept double pawns, knowing these flaws can lead to surprising victories. In life, accepting our imperfections often works similarly. We spend energy hiding flaws, fighting against our limitations, believing they diminish us. But true growth and power come from embracing what makes us different, what others might call damaged or broken. These vulnerabilities grant us unique perspectives, deeper empathy, unexpected resilience. They create pathways we never anticipated. Just as double pawns redefine the chessboard's possibilities, our flaws reshape our personal landscapes, opening unseen doors, cultivating unimagined strengths. So perhaps the question we should softly ponder tonight isn't how we can rid ourselves of flaws, but rather how those very flaws might quietly become our greatest sources of strength. Imagine standing on a small island, completely surrounded by endless ocean. No bridges, no roads, no pathways connecting you to the rest of the world. Just you alone, with silence stretching infinitely in every direction. This solitary existence reflects the concept known on the chessboard as pawn islands, isolated groups of pawns separated by gaps. Each island stands apart, vulnerable, unable to support or protect the others. Just as in chess, human isolation creates a vulnerability that's quiet but profound. Alone, a pawn becomes easily targeted, unsupported, and exposed. Alone, we too often feel vulnerable, uncertain, adrift. Yet, within isolation lies a paradox. There is vulnerability, yes, but also incredible potential for clarity and growth. On your solitary island, you have the space to understand who you truly are. In isolation, you hear your inner voice more clearly, free from the noise and pressures of the crowd. It's in these moments alone, on our metaphorical islands, that we find truths hidden deep within us. But human nature is wired for connection. Too much isolation can weaken us. We yearn for bridges, pathways, and quiet companionship. On the chessboard, isolated pawn islands teach us the importance of connection, the power of creating bonds, no matter how small or fragile. The quiet lesson here is delicate and profound. We must honor our need for solitude while gently acknowledging our fundamental need for others. Isolation clarifies who we are, but unity is what allows us to become who we can be. And as we reflect on the delicate balance between isolation and unity, a soft question arises. How much are we willing to risk, to sacrifice, to reconnect with something greater than ourselves? Picture yourself standing at the edge of the board once again, this time sensing a quiet tension hovering above the carefully placed pieces. You notice one pawn positioned slightly forward, exposed, standing alone, almost inviting capture. It seems reckless, perhaps even foolish, to leave something so vulnerable, so openly at risk. Yet beneath this apparent vulnerability lies one of chess's most subtle and intriguing strategies, the gambit. It's the delicate art of deliberately risking a pawn, sacrificing a small piece of security to gain something far more valuable. Space, time, opportunity. Life is filled with gambits too. How often have we stood at the edge of a decision, hesitant to step forward, afraid of what we might lose? Perhaps it's leaving a safe but unfulfilling job, speaking a truth that might unsettle relationships, or pursuing dreams that might not unfold as imagined. The pawn teaches us something quietly profound here, that meaningful progress sometimes demands gentle sacrifices. It asks us to risk small certainties to open pathways that would otherwise remain hidden. Just like the chess player, we can't always move forward by playing it entirely safe. We must allow ourselves moments of vulnerability, trusting that the risk we take today might lay the groundwork for something richer tomorrow. Consider the bird, balanced at the edge of a branch, knowing well it may break beneath her. But she isn't afraid, for she trusts not the branch, but her wings. In the gambit, the pawn is our own quiet leap of faith, trusting in our ability to navigate what comes next, whatever it might be. And as you ponder this gentle truth, perhaps a new curiosity awakens. What about those opportunities that appear suddenly, fleeting moments that vanish as quickly as they come? Could there be hidden wisdom there too, quietly awaiting our attention? Imagine standing perfectly still, watching closely as something you desire suddenly appears, swiftly, silently, like a breeze passing through a window. But there's a catch. You have only one brief moment, one fleeting heartbeat, to grasp it before it slips beyond reach forever. This delicate scenario perfectly captures the chess move known as en passant, literally, in passing. In chess, it's the quiet exception to the rules, a chance to capture an opponent's pawn only at the precise instant it tries to slip past you. Miss that instant, even by a second, and the opportunity is gone, evaporating into the silence. Life is filled with these quiet moments of opportunity, fleeting whispers of possibility that drift gently into our lives and vanish just as quickly. The job you hesitated to apply for, the person whose gaze you didn't hold, the dream you allowed to pass quietly, unclaimed. These are the en passant moments that come without fanfare, opportunities that exist briefly, beautifully, yet vanish the instant you hesitate. There's no loud announcement, no grand signal. They appear softly, then fade, reminding us that sometimes our greatest regrets are the opportunities we watched quietly slip away, unnoticed or unclaimed. Yet the gentle paradox of en passant is hopeful too. It quietly teaches us vigilance, presence, the wisdom to recognize precious moments when they softly whisper our names. It reminds us to live with open eyes, attentive hearts, ready to act in that brief golden second. As we ponder this quiet truth, another soft question emerges from the shadows. If life is shaped profoundly by these fleeting opportunities, what can the slow, patient movements of pawns teach us about finding strength in life's inevitable uncertainties? Imagine for a moment standing quietly at the back of a long line, watching as others rush past you, chasing immediate victories and instant rewards. You remain still, seemingly forgotten, almost invisible amidst the urgency around you. This is precisely the pawn's silent lesson, the gentle, unspoken wisdom of patience. A pawn, unlike other chess pieces, cannot leap across the board. It cannot speed ahead carelessly, nor can it reverse or retreat. Instead, it must steadily move forward, square by quiet square, patiently awaiting the right moment, the ideal circumstance. Life often mirrors this careful progression. How many times have we felt the urge to rush, to quickly solve our problems, to swiftly achieve our dreams, or impatiently push past barriers? Yet true strength, like the pawn's subtle courage, often comes not from impulsive action, but from the calm, enduring discipline of patience. Consider the seed lying beneath the soil, silently enduring darkness, patiently absorbing the warmth and moisture it needs before pushing upward. If it emerges too soon, it withers. If it never pushes forward at all, it fails to grow. But in patient stillness, it finds the perfect balance, gently unfolding in its own natural timing. The pawn, too, teaches us this quiet patience. It moves at its own rhythm, undisturbed by the haste around it, steadily advancing toward its eventual transformation. In waiting calmly, each step becomes more meaningful, each moment rich with hidden potential. Perhaps the pawn reminds us softly, patiently, that the greatest achievements in life are often found not in frantic leaps, but in quiet endurance, steady, consistent steps taken faithfully forward. As we let this gentle thought settle, another quiet question surfaces. If patience is so essential in navigating life's complexities, how might our gradual, patient steps sometimes build into something more powerful, something unstoppable? Imagine watching quietly as a gentle breeze begins to pick up leaves scattered across a calm field. At first, it's barely noticeable, a whisper in the air, a slight rustle among branches. But slowly, patiently, the breeze gathers strength. Leaves start to swirl together, rising into a soft but undeniable storm. On the chessboard, something similar happens, a phenomenon known as a pawn storm. Initially, it seems subtle, even harmless, one small pawn moving forward, then another and another. Individually, these movements appear insignificant, easy to overlook. But gradually, they begin to build momentum, transforming from scattered, isolated moves into a unified force, quietly unstoppable. Life too often unfolds this way. Small, seemingly unrelated actions, those moments we rarely notice, start to connect. An idea scribbled quietly in a notebook today may ignite a passion tomorrow. One gentle act of kindness can ripple outward, softly reshaping a community. Step by step, action by action, a quiet storm of momentum builds, transforming intentions into realities. Consider the soft power of consistency, the way water slowly erodes stone, the way roots gently break through concrete. It's never about the force of one action, but about patiently repeating small steps, quietly moving forward until these efforts accumulate into undeniable change. Pawns on the chessboard remind us that great achievements don't always require grand gestures or loud proclamations. Often they simply need persistence, gentle repetition, and patience. A pawn storm isn't powerful because it's loud. It's powerful because it's steady, consistent, and quietly unstoppable. And as you drift softly into contemplation, another quiet question emerges. If momentum can carry us forward with such subtle strength, what can we learn from the pawns who stand quietly in place, patiently guarding what matters most? Imagine standing behind a quiet line of pawns, each of them small, humble, unassuming, arranged almost invisibly, unnoticed. At first glance, they're just simple pieces on a chessboard. Nothing remarkable about them. But look closer and you'll realize something profound. These pawns form a silent, steadfast wall, a protective shield, guarding the more powerful pieces behind them. They ask nothing in return, drawing no attention, receiving little credit, yet quietly absorbing every threat, every pressure aimed at those behind. Life echoes this gentle truth constantly. Think about the quiet figures in our lives, the silent protectors, the hidden guardians whose small acts of courage, love, and sacrifice shield us daily. They're the friends who silently stand by your side when you falter, the parents who protect quietly without praise, the mentors whose wisdom defends us from unseen dangers. These pawns, the silent protectors, never make loud declarations, never demand recognition. They simply hold their positions steady and patient, allowing others the freedom and confidence to thrive. It's a quiet courage, deeply powerful precisely because it remains unseen. Consider, too, that each of us sometimes serves as this invisible shield for someone else. Perhaps without realizing it, your quiet kindness has protected another's confidence. Your gentle support has guarded someone else's dreams. Like pawns, we offer subtle strength to those around us, quietly and selflessly, often without even recognizing it ourselves. Yet here's the curious paradox of protection. The most valuable shields are those we barely notice. True protection is silent, invisible, never drawing attention, always offering quiet strength exactly where it's needed most. And as we gently ponder the silent courage hidden in this quiet protection, a soft question rises to guide us forward. If pawns quietly guard and protect, what gentle strength might we find hidden within the tensions and uncertainties they endure on the board? Imagine standing at the edge of an icy lake, your weight shifting cautiously as you test each step. Beneath you, the ice softly crackles, faintly whispering uncertainty, solid enough to support you, yet fragile enough to betray you at any moment. You move forward slowly, carefully, feeling each step fully, your senses heightened, your awareness sharp. On the chessboard, pawns live this very tension every moment they remain on their squares. This quiet yet palpable tension arises when pawns from opposite sides silently face each other, neither advancing nor retreating, locked in a subtle, invisible dance. Each side waits patiently for the other to make a move, knowing that a single misstep could unravel their careful plans. Life echoes this subtle tension. We often find ourselves quietly trapped between decisions, uncertain outcomes, and unclear paths forward. Perhaps it's a career choice that feels both exciting and intimidating, or a relationship standing delicately between growth and fracture. In these moments, uncertainty hums beneath the surface, never fully comfortable, yet strangely alive with possibility. The pawn teaches us something quietly profound here. Uncertainty isn't merely discomfort or indecision, it's also potential energy. Within the space of not knowing, there's room for discovery, growth, and transformation. Just as pawns hold their ground, embracing the delicate balance of risk and patience, we too can learn to navigate life's uncertainties not by desperately seeking answers, but by gracefully living within the questions themselves. Perhaps real wisdom isn't in eliminating uncertainty, but in becoming comfortable with it, embracing the silent spaces between knowing and not knowing, and allowing ourselves the freedom to exist gently within that tension. And as you ponder this thought quietly, consider another gentle curiosity. If the tension of uncertainty holds hidden potential, what quiet power might lie in moments of stillness, in pauses we often overlook? Imagine a crowded room filled with people, each voice louder than the next, everyone fighting to be heard, noise overlapping into confusion. And now, picture someone quietly standing at the back, silently observing, calmly listening. They say nothing, yet somehow their silence becomes louder, more powerful, more intriguing than any voice in the crowd. This quiet figure mirrors the subtle strength of a pawn on the chessboard. Pawns rarely attract immediate attention. They don't boast great leaps like knights, or sweeping moves like bishops and queens. They stand quietly, patiently, almost invisibly, waiting for the right moment to act. Yet in that silence lies a hidden power, the power of potential, patience, and strategic subtlety. While louder pieces command attention through force and spectacle, pawns gently influence the entire game from their unnoticed positions. They shape possibilities, control space, and hold the key to victory without making noise. Life is similar. Consider the people who inspire us most profoundly. Often they're not the loudest voices, but those who quietly embody strength, confidence, and compassion. Their silence speaks louder than words. They don't demand recognition or praise, yet they silently inspire respect through consistency and quiet wisdom. Think about times in your life when silence spoke louder than noise, when a quiet moment or a subtle action communicated far more profoundly than any words could. The silent reassurance of a friend's presence, the quiet nod of understanding from a stranger. These moments remind us that the deepest strengths in life rarely shout. Instead, they whisper softly, steadily, guiding us gently forward. The pawn's silent power reminds us not to confuse noise with strength. It encourages us to seek wisdom in quiet, confidence in subtlety, and power in peaceful patience. As you reflect gently on this subtle truth, perhaps it raises another quiet question worth exploring. If silence can hold such quiet strength, what deeper wisdom might we find when the complexities of our lives become simpler, clearer, stripped down to their purest form? Imagine standing in a quiet room, cluttered with countless objects gathered over a lifetime. Every item feels important, each holding memories, stories, and sentimental value. Yet slowly, gently, you begin to realize that true clarity and strength emerge only when you start removing these items, one by one, revealing the simple beauty hidden beneath the complexity. On the chessboard, something similar happens in pawn endgames, when nearly all the powerful pieces have vanished, leaving only pawns behind. The game, once complex and chaotic, now becomes clear, elegant, and deceptively simple. At this late stage, pawns shine brightest, their quiet strength amplified. Every subtle move matters profoundly. Every careful step reshapes the entire game. Life mirrors this simplicity in beautiful, quiet ways. We spend our lives accumulating complexity, jobs, relationships, responsibilities, believing that complexity itself brings meaning. Yet the deeper we move into life's journey, the clearer it becomes. Real mastery lies not in gathering more but in gently letting go. Just as a chess player entering a pawn endgame carefully strips away unnecessary moves, we too can find clarity by thoughtfully simplifying our lives. It's not about emptiness but about intentionality, choosing what matters, keeping only what is essential, and letting everything else gently fade away. In simplicity there's a silent strength, quietly powerful, undeniably clear. By embracing fewer distractions, we create more space to breathe, more room to move, and deeper clarity to see life's quiet truths. Just like pawns on an emptying board, simplicity helps us find hidden paths to fulfillment and purpose. As you drift softly into this thought, perhaps another quiet curiosity emerges. If profound strength comes from mastering simplicity, what silent wisdom might we discover in moments when life forces us to step backward, confronting setbacks we never saw coming? Imagine yourself standing alone on a quiet path in a deep forest. Ahead, the trail is clear, inviting you forward. Yet your feet feel heavy, anchored by something unseen. Fear holding you back, whispering doubts into the quiet stillness. On the chessboard, this is exactly the reality faced by a backward pawn. One left behind, unable to safely move forward, caught in vulnerability and uncertainty. It stands alone, isolated, knowing that moving forward could mean danger, but staying still might mean being trapped forever. In our lives, how often do we feel this quiet but heavy fear? Moments when we know we must move forward, toward new opportunities, new relationships, new adventures, but fear whispers softly in our ears, holding us back. We fear failure, rejection, disappointment, loss. We become trapped, not by physical barriers, but by invisible ones, deeply woven into our minds. Yet, the backward pawn quietly teaches us something vital. Facing fear isn't about removing it completely. It's about acknowledging it, understanding it, and gently stepping forward anyway. The pawn, despite its apparent weakness, carries potential. Its vulnerability invites support from the pieces around it, reminding us that asking for help, leaning into community, can dissolve fears we thought unbreakable. Every quiet step forward, despite fear, builds strength. Each moment we choose bravery over stagnation gently reshapes our lives. Fear, rather than being a barrier, becomes a quiet guide, signaling precisely where our greatest opportunities lie hidden, softly waiting to be discovered. And as you gently ponder this, perhaps another quiet curiosity begins to form. If confronting our fears allows quiet strength to emerge, then what hidden potential might lie quietly waiting within the small advantages we hold? Advantages we may have overlooked entirely? Imagine standing at the edge of a gentle stream, watching the water flow effortlessly, softly reshaping the landscape around it. The stream is not forceful or loud, yet over time, it quietly carves a path, slowly turning small advantages into something profoundly powerful. On the chessboard, there's a similar quiet force known as a pawn majority, a subtle advantage where one player has more pawns on one side of the board. At first glance, it might seem trivial, just a slight numerical advantage easily overlooked amid powerful queens or swift knights. But as the game gently unfolds, that small pawn majority steadily reveals its true strength. Quietly, patiently, it becomes a powerful asset, paving the way for new possibilities, new threats, and new victories. Life often echoes this gentle power of subtle advantages. Small skills, habits, or opportunities that seem insignificant in isolation gradually accumulate, softly tipping the balance in your favor. Maybe it's a tiny habit you practice each morning, a skill you've patiently honed, or connections you've carefully cultivated over time. Individually, each may feel small, barely noticeable. Yet combined, these quiet advantages become an unstoppable current, carrying you gently forward to places you never imagined possible. The pawn majority teaches us the art of gentle leverage, recognizing small advantages and quietly nurturing them, trusting their cumulative strength to carry us forward. True mastery lies not in dramatic gestures, but in consistently leveraging the subtle advantages life gives us, patiently watching them grow. As you softly reflect on this quiet truth, perhaps another curiosity begins to surface. If subtle advantages can quietly guide us forward, how do we gracefully handle those moments when life places obstacles directly in our path? Imagine quietly walking along a familiar path through a gentle forest, the route clear in your mind, each step comfortable and assured. But suddenly your progress stops. A massive fallen tree blocks your way. You pause, unsure, frustrated, uncertain how to move forward. The path ahead, once simple and clear, now seems impossible, hopelessly blocked. On the chessboard, a blocked pawn experiences this same quiet frustration. Its way forward is stopped, immobilized by another piece standing directly before it. There's no obvious move, no clear alternative, just quiet stillness and uncertainty. The pawn, unable to retreat, simply waits, trapped between possibility and impossibility. Life often places us in similar situations. We set goals, we plan carefully, we dream vividly. And then, inevitably, something arises. A setback, an obstacle, a challenge. We find our paths blocked, our dreams stalled, our plans quietly disrupted. At first, we might feel helpless, paralyzed by uncertainty and disappointment. But perhaps there's a deeper wisdom here, quietly waiting for us. The blocked pawn gently teaches us about adaptability, about patience and creativity in the face of difficulty. When the direct path is blocked, we're encouraged to look carefully around us, exploring new perspectives, discovering hidden alternatives. Perhaps instead of pushing stubbornly forward, the obstacle invites us to pause and reassess, to uncover new paths we hadn't previously imagined. A blocked path might feel like failure, but in reality, it's often just a gentle redirection, quietly guiding us toward growth, discovery, and unexpected opportunity. As you reflect on this gentle truth, a quiet curiosity might arise. If obstacles aren't barriers but quiet invitations to reassess and grow, then what wisdom might we discover in the slow, patient journey itself, as each small step quietly unfolds toward something extraordinary? Imagine a single pawn standing quietly at the beginning of its journey, facing an endless row of squares stretching far ahead into the unknown. Behind it lies familiarity, safety, comfort, yet something gently pushes it forward. It takes one hesitant step, then another and another, each move uncertain yet quietly determined. This is the pawn's long journey, an understated odyssey across the chessboard. A journey filled not with dramatic leaps but patient, deliberate steps. The pawn cannot rush, it cannot take shortcuts. Its path is slow, its progress gentle, marked by both risk and hope. Each square crossed carries weight and meaning, shaping its destiny. In life, we often resemble this quiet pawn, moving forward one cautious step at a time, uncertain about what lies ahead, yet driven by an invisible hope. We sometimes envy those who seem to move swiftly, easily jumping over obstacles and arriving effortlessly at their goals. But the pawn quietly reminds us that true growth often comes through patience, steady determination, and persistence over long periods of quiet effort. Like the pawn, we learn that journeys aren't always straightforward. They're filled with setbacks and small victories, each step shaping who we become. The pawn doesn't despair at the length of its journey. It quietly embraces it, understanding that the distance itself provides opportunities for reflection, strength, and transformation. As we watch this pawn's quiet progression, perhaps we begin to understand something deeper. It's not merely about reaching the final square, it's about who the pawn becomes along the way. Each gentle step forward is a small transformation, preparing it for the remarkable change awaiting at journey's end. And as we softly reflect on our own quiet journeys, another gentle thought arises. What does the pawn's quiet willingness to move forward teach us about the equally important moments when we must quietly let go? Imagine gently holding a handful of sand, each grain softly glittering in your palm. You hold tight, afraid of losing even a single grain, but slowly, inevitably, some grains begin slipping through your fingers. At first, you fight it, closing your hand tighter, but the tighter you grasp, the faster the sand quietly falls away. On the chessboard, pawns often face a similar quiet truth. Known as pawn exchanges, these gentle trades occur frequently, each player quietly sacrificing small pieces to clear paths, open space, or shift balance on the board. At first glance, giving up a pawn might feel like loss, letting go of something you've carefully guarded, held onto tightly. But chess masters know something deeply profound. True strength often comes not from stubbornly holding on, but from gracefully letting go. Life softly mirrors this wisdom. How often do we hold tightly onto jobs, relationships, or dreams we've quietly outgrown, afraid to let go and face uncertainty? Yet, just like the gentle pawn exchange, there's often quiet power hidden in release. Letting go of what no longer serves us opens up space. New possibilities, clearer paths, opportunities we never imagined existed. Sometimes the things we clutch most tightly are precisely what hold us back from true growth, quietly limiting our potential. Each graceful release becomes an opportunity to transform, to evolve, to become something more vibrant and authentic. Consider the leaves on a tree in autumn, quietly letting go, gently floating downward. They don't cling desperately to branches. Instead, they trust in the cycle of seasons, knowing letting go is essential for renewal and growth. As you softly reflect on this idea, perhaps another gentle curiosity emerges. If strength lies not only in holding on, but also in letting go, what quiet breakthroughs might await us on the other side of release? Imagine standing in a dense forest, surrounded by endless trees, tangled roots, and overgrown paths. For a long time, every direction looks the same, each step uncertain, each turn unclear. But then, quietly, almost unnoticed, something shifts. A gentle breeze moves branches aside, creating a sudden, clear pathway, a breakthrough where none seemed possible moments ago. On the chessboard, pawns experience something remarkably similar. They move carefully, slowly, often blocked by opposing pieces, facing a landscape of confusion and complexity. But there comes a moment, subtle, quiet, yet profoundly powerful, when one pawn finally sees a clear path ahead. A space opens, the clutter vanishes, and suddenly the pawn breaks free. This is the essence of the pawn breakthrough, the moment of quiet clarity emerging after prolonged struggle. It doesn't arrive loudly or dramatically, but softly, patiently, after countless attempts, careful positioning, and gentle persistence. Our lives echo these gentle breakthroughs. Think of times you felt lost or uncertain, trapped by indecision or complexity. You keep moving forward slowly, hoping for clarity. And then suddenly a quiet realization emerges. A hidden opportunity reveals itself. Paths once invisible become vividly clear, guiding you gently toward possibilities you'd almost stopped believing in. These moments remind us that clarity often emerges from patience. Breakthroughs aren't always the result of forceful effort or dramatic change, but rather the soft persistence of repeatedly trying, adjusting, and quietly trusting the process. The pawn teaches us to remain gentle with ourselves, patient in our confusion, knowing clarity comes not when forced, but when quietly invited through sustained effort and calm perseverance. And as you softly consider this insight, perhaps another quiet curiosity gently surfaces. If breakthroughs quietly guide us forward, how might controlling the quiet center of our lives help us find lasting balance? Imagine standing in the center of a gently swaying boat, feeling the soft rhythm of waves beneath your feet. To stay balanced, you instinctively shift your weight slightly, carefully adjusting to each subtle movement. Too far to one side and you risk falling into the water. Too rigid and you might topple from stiffness alone. The key lies in finding that quiet point of equilibrium, balanced, centered, effortlessly steady. On the chessboard, the central pawns quietly mirror this principle of balance. Positioned in the heart of the board, these humble pieces silently exert profound influence. Controlling the center offers stability, balance, and gentle command of the entire field. It's not about forceful movements or aggressive attacks. Rather, it's about subtle shifts, carefully placed steps, maintaining calm authority over the space around them. Life, too, quietly whispers the importance of this central balance. Our lives often swing between extremes: work and rest, passion and peace, dreams and responsibilities. We frequently chase one extreme only to find ourselves gently longing for the other. Yet true mastery, true harmony, isn't found at the edges but in the quiet center, where we gently hold life's complexities in careful equilibrium. Central pawns teach us that real control doesn't require forceful dominance or loud declarations. Instead, it emerges from gentle strength, thoughtful placement, and balanced awareness of all parts of our lives. Just as central pawns subtly influence the chessboard without moving aggressively, we too find power in quietly maintaining balance, remaining flexible yet grounded, open yet stable. Perhaps true wisdom isn't found in relentlessly chasing extremes, but in gently nurturing a calm, steady center, allowing life to flow naturally around us, moving smoothly through changes with grace and quiet strength. And as you softly ponder this quiet thought, another gentle curiosity emerges. If balance gives us quiet control, what hidden power might lie in being different, in quietly stepping beyond the expected path? Imagine standing quietly at the edge of a crowded room, watching silently as others gather in the center, laughing, conversing, seemingly in the heart of it all. You feel slightly distant, disconnected even, perhaps overlooked. But what if your place at the edge isn't a disadvantage at all, but rather a quiet source of strength? On the chessboard, edge pawns quietly occupy spaces at the sides, far from the bustling center of activity. Often dismissed as weak or irrelevant, these outsiders patiently wait in the shadows. But their true strength lies precisely in their position on the edges. Quietly, subtly, they wield influence from places most underestimate, exerting unexpected power simply by existing outside the crowded center. Life, too, has its quiet outsiders. People whose perspectives differ, whose ideas don't immediately align with mainstream views. Being at the edge might feel lonely at times, even disadvantageous. Yet history gently reminds us that the greatest innovations often begin from quiet edges. Visionaries and artists, inventors and dreamers, they've often stood apart, offering fresh ideas precisely because they were never trapped by conventional thinking. Edge pawns teach us that being different isn't a flaw, it's a quiet advantage. Stepping away from the noisy center gives us space to think clearly, to innovate freely, to see what others miss. Outsiders possess a unique, gentle strength, the power of perspective, the quiet ability to notice unseen paths, possibilities others overlook in their rush to fit in. So, perhaps the edge isn't a disadvantage after all. Perhaps it's the place where real breakthroughs begin. Quietly, unnoticed, gently reshaping our understanding of what's possible. As we softly reflect on this idea, another gentle curiosity emerges. If true strength quietly exists at the edges, then what hidden wisdom might we uncover when we willingly sacrifice small comforts, quietly positioning ourselves for greater gains? Imagine you're quietly tending a small garden, carefully nurturing each delicate flower, each fragile plant. You've invested time, effort, love into every blossom. But one day, gently, thoughtfully, you remove one cherished flower, one you've watched grow carefully from a seed, because you know that its absence will allow others around it to flourish even more beautifully. On the chessboard, this thoughtful action reflects what's known as a pawn sacrifice. It's not done carelessly or hastily. Rather, it's a quiet, deliberate choice, sacrificing something small and valued to achieve greater harmony, control, or positional advantage. At first, losing the pawn might feel counterintuitive, even painful. But masters understand that sometimes the greatest long-term benefits arise from careful, intentional loss. Life often asks us to make similar, quiet sacrifices. Perhaps it's giving up immediate comfort for future success, stepping away from something familiar to create space for growth, or letting go of a relationship to achieve deeper personal peace. Initially, these sacrifices feel uncertain, unsettling, even painful. Yet, with quiet courage, we recognize the wisdom behind them, the gentle truth that sometimes we must lose something precious to gain something far greater. The beauty lies not in the sacrifice itself, but in the thoughtful clarity behind it. It's the quiet acknowledgement that life isn't always about holding tightly to everything we have. Sometimes real wisdom is knowing precisely when to let go gracefully, intentionally, opening new doors and fresh opportunities. And as you softly consider this quiet wisdom, perhaps another gentle question emerges. If there's strength in careful sacrifice, what quiet lessons might we learn from viewing our own lives as journeys, slow, purposeful paths unfolding step by careful step? Imagine a single pawn, quietly standing at the very start of its path, gazing ahead into the unknown expanse of the chessboard. It knows nothing of what lies beyond, only that something calls it forward. There is no certainty, no promise of safe passage, only the quiet urge to begin a journey. In this humble pawn's quiet adventure, we find the essence of the hero's journey, a timeless narrative echoed across countless myths, legends, and human stories. It's a journey that begins simply, a call to adventure, stepping forth from comfort into uncertainty. Like any great hero, the pawn faces trials. It steps cautiously forward, confronting threats, making small sacrifices, learning lessons quietly with each advancing square. Obstacles appear, forcing choices and tests of courage. Each step forward shapes the pawn, transforming it gradually into something greater than when its journey began. Then, just as in our favorite stories, the pawn reaches its deepest point of uncertainty. A moment when the next step seems impossible, the end impossibly distant. But it moves forward anyway, quietly embodying bravery, persistence, and quiet strength. And finally, the pawn reaches its destiny, transformation. What began as the simplest, smallest piece on the board quietly emerges as something powerful, something greater. A queen, a knight, a figure of strength and purpose, forever changed by the gentle courage of its journey. We too live through similar quiet journeys. Our lives aren't always dramatic sagas or loud tales of triumph. Often they're subtle stories, marked by gentle steps forward, patient endurance, quiet courage, and quiet transformation. Every one of us is, in our own gentle way, a hero walking a quiet yet deeply meaningful journey. And as you softly reflect on the pawn's heroic journey, perhaps another gentle curiosity arises. If the pawn's quiet journey shapes it into something extraordinary, what hidden truths might we uncover when we quietly explore our own deepest identities? Imagine quietly gazing into a still pond, your reflection softly rippling across its surface. At first, the image feels clear, familiar, your face, your expression, your identity staring gently back at you. Yet as the water moves, something curious happens. The reflection blurs, shifts, changes. You're left quietly wondering, which image truly represents me? On the chessboard, a pawn faces a similar quiet contemplation. Born as the humblest piece, it begins its journey with an identity already assigned. Small, insignificant, expendable. Yet as it moves gently forward, step by careful step, it edges closer toward transformation, questioning who it truly is and who it might become. The pawn's quiet journey reflects our own deeper search for identity, often starting with the identities others give us. Labels, expectations, roles. We live within these identities, quietly accepting them until, softly, we begin questioning who we truly are beneath the surface. Just like the pawn reaching the far side of the board, each careful step we take towards self-discovery moves us closer to transformation. We realize our true selves aren't static reflections fixed on the water's surface but ever-changing, gently shaped by our experiences, dreams, and choices. The pawn softly teaches us the value of patience in finding ourselves. Identity isn't uncovered quickly or forcefully. It's revealed gently, thoughtfully, through experiences, introspection, and courageously embracing who we're becoming. And when the pawn finally reaches the end of its quiet journey, it transforms into something entirely new. A queen, knight, bishop. Fully embracing a new identity, one born from its authentic path. As you softly ponder this gentle truth, perhaps another quiet curiosity emerges. If finding our true self comes from quiet, steady progress, what hidden strength might we uncover through resilience? The quiet, gentle ability to endure even in silence? Imagine standing alone in a gentle storm, rain softly falling, clouds quietly heavy above. Each drop feels small, insignificant even, but gradually, persistently, the rain wears away stone, reshapes landscapes, quietly nurturing new life from what was once barren. It's not loud, not dramatic, just steady, patient, quietly resilient. This is the essence of the pawn's quiet resilience. Pawns face constant threats. Stronger pieces surround them, dangers lie at every move, and obstacles appear relentlessly in their path. Yet step by patient step, pawns quietly persist. They adapt, move carefully around danger, patiently pressing forward even when progress feels painfully slow. This gentle, persistent movement reflects something deeply profound about our own resilience. Like the pawns, our lives often unfold through quiet moments of endurance, times when obstacles appear insurmountable, when setbacks push us quietly backward, and when hope itself feels thin. Yet like the pawn, we softly persist. Resilience isn't always found in grand, heroic moments. Sometimes it's the quiet determination to simply move forward, slowly, gently, without fanfare. It's the small acts of courage we choose each day despite uncertainty or fear. Pawns teach us resilience isn't loud or forceful. It's patient, steady, quietly powerful. Consider a tree rooted deeply in the earth. Storms come, winds blow fiercely, yet quietly the tree sways, bends, but remains grounded, growing stronger each time. Similarly, every quiet step forward, every small choice to endure, quietly deepens our own inner strength, shaping us gently into something unshakable. As you drift softly into reflection, perhaps a final quiet question arises. If quiet resilience shapes us into beings of quiet strength, what other quiet truths might we uncover when we gently look deeper within ourselves?